This is the historic 24 hours of the Nürburgring. The Nürburg Castle, the symbol for the town with a track that has the most tradition of any in the world, the Nürburgring. 194,000 fans have come here for this weekend spectacular, the 24 hours. Adenau is one of the beautiful villages in the area. 3,500 people live here. Once a year, it's the mecca for race fans with the Adenauer Racing Day. Over 8,000 fans crowd into the village for a special racing spectacular. This is optimal. It's the second time here, and I enjoyed last year, and with the good weather, there was no other choice but to come back again. I'm happy with the drivers here. They drive their cars right past us. It's super. They're here live for us. This is fantastic for the motorsports fans because they're right up close as they drive by. They accelerate quickly on this short section, and you experience how a race car really feels. Before the cars reach the town, acrobats offer a totally different type of spectacular show. And then they arrive, the line of 24-hour competitors. The V8 Star race cars, a large number of top 10 series cars, and many, many more. It's a great show. The fans on the course are certainly excited, but here in Adenau, it's history. For us, Opel, naturally, it's very good because so many fans are here. I believe this belongs to the 24 hours race. It's certainly not pleasant to sit in the car in this heat and not get anything to drink, but it's important for the fans that they can see the drivers up close. This is totally different than Formula One, where everything is far away from the fans. They can touch the cars here. The drivers see the fans. It's important to them, bringing the fans nearer the action, and it's simply fun. And the Opel drivers let loose. Motors roared, tires screamed, and the cars left behind their personal odor for the fans. A successful close to a successful program. The second Adenauer Racing Day shows that we're headed in the right direction. A fantastic crowd, a super atmosphere, and this year we have some 50 cars here in Adenau. The top teams from last year, from the Viper to the BMW, the Opel, all of them great. You hear the cheers in the background. It can't be any better. Super weather, super atmosphere. It's fantastic. Super weather, super atmosphere. You can already look forward to next year. But Adenau isn't the only highlight. The entire Nürburgring is covered with fans. Great atmosphere, anticipation for the opening race, and thousands of fans will be following the weekend activities. Great atmosphere that also can come from the group B3. They came here especially to experience the race and to perform the official 24 hours race song.
It's very cool. It's very interesting to see all the people come out for this. It's a very special thing. Like, we've never heard of a race. It's 24 hours. It just goes on, you know, forever, basically. It's really cool. It's very exciting. The crowd's just anticipating, so we're excited. It's a great opportunity for us to perform our new single here, and it's really great.
And they were impressed with the huge number of fans at the Nürburgring. They grabbed a camera themselves to record the spectacular. Then they gave their fans a full power show. They wanted to let the drivers know
when they drive and they could be singing "We Got the Power," trying to beat each other. That'd be cool.
B3 at the Nürburgring, a great show for the fans. For those who couldn't wait to experience the long North course, there was a chance to do it at the Ricardo Carrera track. They set the fans and the drivers up for the race. There have never been so many favorites for the 24 hours as this year. This naturally is attributed in part to the huge entry list. Some 210 cars would be at the start. The entry of the factory cars from Audi, Opel, and BMW also played a part. The two BMW M3s have some 460 horsepower under the hood. The drivers include Dirk and Jörg Müller, who are also taking part in the European Touring Car Championship. Along with them in the green hell, as the Nürburgring's long course is called, are Claudia Hürtgen, Marc Duez, and Hans-Joachim Stuck. The drivers in the blue and white colors. I believe that our two BMWs are among the fastest cars in the field, and it's important to have drivers who know the car, know the North course, and can correctly judge the traffic. I believe that we're sending a good team to the start, and that they'll certainly handle the challenge. BMW didn't test their cars during some of the earlier endurance races at the Nürburgring. Audi and Opel did. But BMW certainly has put plenty of test miles behind them. The Viper has proven to own the Nürburgring in the past couple of years. It's a reliable car with experienced drivers. They won this event the past 2 years. The Yellow Snake, as it's called, is certainly one of the favorites. But in comparison to the factory cars, the Viper has a smaller gas tank and will cover fewer laps per tank. In order to make up for this deficit, they'll have to have faster laps than the competition. Theoretically, that's correct, but it isn't really practical. The cars we face at the start are very fast. They're actually newer, but we can also say that our car is better tested over the years. I don't know if it's necessarily the tactic, we'll have to see, but if we can stay with them or if we drive our race as we've done in the past years. However, the team is optimistic. The title defense will be tougher this year than in past years. It's an added incentive. The name Manthey Racing is synonymous with Porsche and German motorsports, but not necessarily with the success in the 24 hours. That may change. They have a heavier car, and despite that, they decided against using a lighter combustion engine. Instead, they're going to go with a power turbo motor. When I always take just the normal way, I really don't move forward. You have to take certain risks in order to see if you can stay near the front, and maybe even take home a win. I believe the solution we have chosen with the turbo motor is certainly the best. Last but not least, the Porsche 996 Bi-Turbo built by Jürgen Alsen. This is a double turbo motor and showed its power in qualifying. The car is almost 2 meters wide, has a large wing, and has a lot of downforce. You lose some top speed on the straights, but we've compensated with the motor. The motor is from the RS Tuning Reinhold Schmäler, and the car works well and has some good lap times. The car has some 700 horsepower, and drivers Uwe Alsen and Michael Bartels, along with Jürgen Alsen and Arno Klassen, want to use it to take the title. And Opel wants to do everything to prevent that. The cars from Rüsselsheim have two 500 horsepower Astra V8 coupes in the field. They're factory supported and have 4 drivers from the German Touring Car Masters Series. They have just as much hope for the title as do the crews from App Sportsline. The Audis from Kempten hope that they can be as successful here as they are in the German Touring Car Masters. As the cars get ready for the start, here's your starting lineup. The Porsche's in front 1-2, the Opel Astra third. That's a surprise to many people. And then the Dodge Viper qualifying in 4th position. BMW back in the pack a little bit, along with the Audis. And the Nissan, the lone Nissan, with Roland Asch, the key driver here, starting in 11th position. Here we go. The Porsches jump out in front. Uwe Alsen. 700 horsepower in that car, and here he comes taking the lead. The opening moments of the 24 hours of endurance at the Nürburgring. It looks like Porsche 1-2, then comes the Viper, and look at that. The Opels are moving up into the 4th and 5th positions. But here in the beginning, before this huge crowd, it's the Porsche out in front. What's interesting is those crowds you see in the stands, they're going to be there now, but as the race develops, they're going to disappear and go out on the track somewhere to watch the action. This is the new part of the course. It's a very busy section, very difficult to pass. Here comes Uwe Alsen in the Porsche. The Manthey Porsche is running second, is being pushed here by the Viper. It's called the Dodge Viper this year. Last year it was the Chrysler Viper. And the BMW has also moved up into the top 5. So the cars everyone expected to be out in front are certainly there. The big question marks are, will the touring cars be able to keep up with the Viper and with BMW? The Schnitzer team has plenty of experience and is able to produce a car that'll handle 24 hours. They've done it for the last couple of years in the United States. There is Stuck in that blue and white BMW trying to move up in the field. Hans Stuck, another veteran. But a BMW is slowing down. A BMW is slowing down. That is the Stuck car. The race has just started. The first lap is not even complete, and a BMW has problems. One of the top favorites in the field has problems and is going to have to head to the pits. Here you get a look at part of the Nürburgring. It's about the only way we can show you this track. It's 16 miles long. So you have an opportunity to see parts of it here, and as you look to the left, you see a chance for all the fans that are around the entire circuit here. Over 194,000. And look at this, the Viper is coming up on the Porsche, the Manthey Porsche, and is getting by. The Opel is right behind them. But the Viper now is making its move. It's going to have to use its power. The Manthey Porsche is setting its own pace here and not worried about everybody getting by, including the Opel. They've got their tactic in mind. They're going to set their pace, and they're going to keep right on going as best they can. The Viper, on the other hand, has to run. And this man, Hans Stuck, has to hope to be pulled. And when he finally is, well, the car is pushed into the garage, and a lot of work ahead. It looks like the gearbox is off, and they're going to have to do a lot of work to get that car back on the track. The interesting thing about this race is you have to finish the last lap in order to be classified. So they may be able to get the car out in a while, get it out there for the fans, and then see if they can get the car classified. At least that's the goal of most of the teams. Here you get a look at the long straightaway leading to the start-finish line. Cars here, depending on their size, getting up to 180, almost 200 miles an hour. And you can also see how bumpy the course is. Some of the cars have to change their line on this particular part of the course because it's so bumpy, and they scrape the bottom of the track. But here come the leaders. And look at that, the Audis are competing with each other. That's giving some nervous moments for the crew back in the Audi pit. It's hard enough when you're competing against the competition, but when you're competing against yourself, that makes everybody nervous. Especially, this is the early moments of a 24-hour event. Then again, these touring cars are used to that kind of competition. And the Hans Stuck BMW has been repaired and is headed back out onto the course. He's a long way back, and it's certainly a large disappointment for the Schnitzer team, but at least they got him back out on the course. The Schnitzer team has done unbelievable work with the gearbox change, and now the important thing is to give the fans something to cheer about. We'll attack and hope that we can finish in the top 10. Time for pit stops. The leading car of Uwe Alsen comes in, the Porsche. They're going to have the driver change. Getting in the car now is Michel Bartels as Stuck steps out. The car has led from the beginning, has shown that the power counts. Here you can see one of the problems at the Nürburgring, the slower traffic. The fast cars, the yellow ones there, are trying to work their way through, but it's a traffic jam, particularly here in the first couple of hours of the event. The Viper and the Opel trying to get by. The Viper has finally made it through. The Opel now is also underway, but it certainly takes up an awful lot of time, and if the Viper wanted to be fast, well, it certainly didn't help them there. Back in the pack, we have an Opel and an Audi battle going on here at the Nürburgring during the 24 hours. You have a great view of the track, a historic track. out in the woods, some places the fans can't even get to as you look to the left and right in this battle between the Audi and the Opel. Watch carefully here as they come up over the hill and get up in the air a little bit. That jump used to be worse than it is now. They've leveled it off, but the cars still become airborne coming up over that hill. Here you get another look at the course and how bumpy it can be on the long straightaway. The Porsche of Uwe Alsen and Michel Bartels certainly having its problems here. And the Viper is coming into the pits. It's first going to have to go through the technical check. All the cars have to do that very, very quickly. And then it will go in and have a chance to be able to do what it needs to do as far as the change is concerned. The team is certainly waiting. But now they have to get the car. And here comes the Opel. The Opel coming into the pits along with the others. Didn't have to stop for the technical check, but certainly you can see the speed limit is adhered to. There are teams here stacked 2, 3 abreast and back and forth, so it's very, very tight, and the speed of the drivers is certainly kept under control. The Viper comes out of the technical check and will now go to its pits. It comes in, the driver who started, Peter Sikowski, who owns the team, he will step out and he'll be replaced by Pedro Lamy. Lamy also drives in touring cars in the V8 series. Very experienced driver and certainly is a great aid to the Viper team. And the Opel, the 6 Opel, is the first one to go back out onto the course, and the Viper is right behind him. You can see to the left how crowded that pit area is as the Viper works its way back out onto the course. And the Audi of Karl Wendlinger, Christian Abt, Chris Nissen, and Marco Werner is now showing the others away here around the long course at the Nürburgring in the 24 hours. The Opel number 5 has now taken the lead here in the 24 hours. You get another look at that long straightaway leading up to the start-finish line. As the race wears on, you're going to be able to tell that it's going to take its wear and tear on the cars when you consider that there's about 39 left-hand turns, 44 right-hand turns over this 16-mile course. It's up and downhill, and as you've seen in several segments, it's very bumpy, like here where the car goes up and down and scrapes the bottom. But this is the test they came for, and already the Opels and the Audis have proven that the German touring cars, even though they have been modified for this race, are certainly able to compete and represent their manufacturers very well. The Audi continues to roll well, but here is that Porsche on the pole, had its pit stop, is back in once again. But it's being severely challenged by the Audi. The Audi number 8 of Wendlinger, Tomczak, Nissen, and Abt. Here they're running side by side. This is not endurance racing, it's touring car racing. Somebody better tell them the cars are run down. Not really. This is some of the best racing we've seen at the Nürburgring as far as these type of cars are concerned. Usually these are endurance affairs. Everybody sets their speed and tries to go through. Here, the Porsche and the Audi are putting on a show. The Audi wants to get by. The Porsche actually has more horsepower. But right now, it's a question of, look at this. The Opel is actually out in front. Then comes the Audi, then another Opel, and the Viper is back in 4th place. Further back down, the Nissen is doing extremely well, running in 9th position. That Abt Audi with the owner, Christian Abt, running back in the pack just a little bit there, as you saw. But here is the leader, your Opel number 5, putting on a show for the fans. The Opel has had its problems in the German Touring Car Masters, but here at the 24 hours, they seem to be the master of the Nürburgring. And here's what can happen when you have a flat tire. Watch the car on the right. And that Porsche did not have a chance whatsoever. Flat tire on a high speed like this, and it's all over. There you get another look at it. He kept it on the grass, but the Porsche and the Manta spin, and the crews have more work ahead of them. Here's the Audi, number 7. It's in the pits. It's been in there now for some 25 minutes. There is something wrong with the power steering. Here comes the Porsche to the pits. And it's got problems. It's got problems. They're going to have to work on it. They've got a gearbox problem. And now they've got a lot of work ahead of them. Sometimes you can make up the time in the pits because other people have the same problems, but sometimes it can cost you. Uwe Alsen there, naturally upset. The car was running well. He had been out in front, but now he has to watch as the mechanics go to work to try to salvage the car. Michel Bartels was hit in the right rear axle on his last stint. I took over, but had to tell the pits the car was out of line. It evidently damaged the drive shaft and then went to the gearbox, and finally I lost third gear. Unfortunately, we're going to have to change the gearbox. It's too bad, because we're going to lose a lot of time. Whether it's worth trying to continue is questionable, but we do want to continue the race, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. And there's the car as the mechanics try to get it to work and get it back out on the track. Meanwhile, out on the course, you're riding along with the apt Audi. This is the Wendlinger Tomtech Nissan and app car. You can see the action ahead of them as they're trying to chase down the Opel. But look at this. The Audi goes to the outside of the banked carousel while the Opels go down into the lower section. The Audis have been a little bit worried about the bottoms of their car and being vibrated by going into that bank section, so they take the long way around. It costs them a little time, but they think it's better for the car. Here, one of the Opels, number 6, is parked beside the course, and it looks like it's out. Looks like it's been involved in an accident. Here's what happened. Here comes the Opel. It's coming up on a Renault Clio. The Clio doesn't see it, bumps it, and Blecker Merlin, the driver of the Opel, crashes into the guardrail, and the race day is over for the Opel crew.
It's just one of the things racing on this circuit with so many different types of cars. You approach these cars at double the speed, and suddenly they do something unexpected, and they just caught Jaron out, and he's in the wall. 2 wheels are gone from the car, and I think our car is now finished. So yeah, I feel a little bit sorry for him and for the team because we've all worked very hard for this.
After 7 hours, the Nissan Skyline is doing well. Here on the left of your screen as they come out of the Döttinger Höhe and onto the long straightaway headed toward the start-finish line. That team led by Roland Asch, one of the veteran touring car drivers in Germany. They're doing extremely well, but I think they're about as surprised as everyone else is how quickly they have come to the front here in actually what we consider the opening hours of the 24 hours of Nürburgring. The Nissan doing very, very well, a very popular car. Here once again is the factory BMW. It's been in the pits, and they're going to roll it out and see if they can get it back out and run again. It's helplessly back in the pack, but they want to run for their fans. We're now reaching a point in the race that becomes one of the critical times. This and the racing as the sun comes up are two very difficult times. Here we're getting towards sunset. It's late in the evening, or we're getting toward the evening. And the drivers now are going to have to face the setting sun. And what makes it difficult here, as you're looking at the lead car, the Opel number 5, is the fact that there are so many blind corners and so many blind hills that a driver can come out of a short dip, come back up, be blinded by the sun, and go right into a corner at the same time. This is a very difficult time. For the fans, as you can see, they're probably having a great time. But you can see that some of the cars here have a special cover right across the windshield. And the sole purpose of that, as you're seeing here on the Audi, is to cut down on the sun. But look at that. You can see it coming. You also see the fact that it can be very, very difficult. Now, of course, that was a little bit of camera tricks for you, but you still have the idea of how this is for the drivers. It's very, very difficult looking into that sun at this time of the evening. It can be very, very difficult. But as we go back now and we start looking at the race, you can see that the Audis are running strong, the Opels are running strong, and they're getting by the slower traffic. And here you get a very special look at the Dodge Viper. And the Viper has some special lights on so the cars know. Now, there's been an accident here And there are being a number of checks made here. And this year, the officials are being very, very tight as to if there's a yellow flag and there is an accident and they tell you to slow down and you don't, you get penalized real quick. You either get a drive-through penalty, you get lap penalty, whatever. But it can be very, very difficult for a team if they don't pay attention to the rules this year. There are just so many cars out on the track, and the race officials want to be sure that they keep control of what's going on. There you see the Viper coming in. Those blue lights are what I was talking about. The slower cars know that the Viper's coming, and with those special lights. Now, the other cars don't have any special lights like that, but it can create a problem. But at least the slower drivers have to be aware that faster cars are coming. Another look at the Nissan here at the 24 hours of endurance at the Nürburgring. Sunset is approaching. The Audi continues to roll, and look at that, it loses a tire. The Audi has lost a tire, and now it's got to make its way back to the pits if it can. The Audi lost the tire way out on the course. Keep in mind, they have to cover some 16 miles here on one lap. They're about halfway out. It's a long haul now for that Audi to get back to the pits. Hopefully not damaging the car. There's what's left of that tire. The Audi did make it in, and now the crew has to go to work to see what they can salvage of that tire and hope that it has not damaged the car. The pit stops continue here at the 24 hours of endurance. The cars coming in, trying to get everybody straight, get the tires changed, get the drivers changed so they can make it through the night as we're headed into sunset and the evening. This is another of the factory BMWs. This is of the Jorg and Dirk Müller, Claudia Hürtgen. The crew going to work. It should be out on the course in a relatively short period of time. This is a planned pit stop, so nobody is surprised by this one. But you can see night is settling in here at the Nürburgring. The Manthey Porsche, it comes into the pits, getting ready for the night. We can certainly be happy about driving at night. The turbo motor runs better when it's cooler. We have more power, and we want to use the night to our advantage. After 8 hours of racing, the apt Audi out in front, the Opel Astra second, and the Dodge Viper running third. And look at this, the Nissan is running in fourth place. The Porsche's back in the field after all their problems. The Honda is up into 12th position. Fun and parties around the Honorable Nürburgring are a tradition. The newcomers to the ring are a happy bunch. This is the first time that we're here, and it's far beyond our expectations we have for the 24 hours. It's better than television. A number of drivers have their own fan clubs on the course, such as Timo Scheider. His brother Christian Scheider and the other members are cheering Timo on. We support Timo with flags, horns, and yelling as loud as possible when he drives by, and maybe he hears us. The hardest time for the drivers, sunset and the night. They start to get tired. Concentration and endurance are a must as the drivers in their cars are pushed to the limit. Night, an indescribable experience. Some teams offer the fans something special. Our main sponsor is a firm that develops lasers. They manufacture them, and it's really a lot of fun. This is the second time that we're here in the 24 hours with the laser, last year with the BMW. The fans like it so much that we did it again. Doesn't matter where we are in the track, it's always a big party. Rockets fill the skies, and they really like the laser. It's a big show. Belongs to the 24 hours. Women also belong to the 24 hours, scantily clad and curvaceous. The Titty Twister is something for the men to take their mind off the race, for at least a little while anyway. The 24 hours at night, something special for everyone. It's midnight in the 24 hours, and now you get to see what the fans get to see here at the Nürburgring when the Viper comes by. Sometimes it hits everyone. Exhaustion, even when you fight it. But the night was anything but a sleepy time. At 1:45 in the morning, it happened to the Zaxby team, they, the victim. The Sports Commission handed them a 5-lap penalty. The team has a larger tank than the rules allowed, which is supposed to be 90 liters. The car's papers had been changed from Chrysler Viper to Dodge Viper to try to make the tank legal. The defending champion will challenge the ruling. We're driving under the rules of the Dodge Viper. That means we can have a 120-liter tank. We tanked 100 liters in the first stops, which is allowed by the rules. And when we added less gas on the stops, that were technical problems. Now, there were shorter stints, therefore, less gas was needed. At the time of the penalty, the Dodge Viper was third, but then dropped back to ninth. The Nissan Skyline GTR from Falcon Sports profited from the penalty. The team, headed by Germany's Roland Asch, was suddenly in third place, despite clutch problems. They only had 4th, 5th, and 6th gears. That was actually too early to be in third place. We hadn't expected that. And that's how quickly it can happen here at the Nürburgring. You're out in front, and then you're not. The Audi comes into the pits. The Opel comes into the pits. They've been running bumper to bumper throughout the night. The fans certainly haven't enjoyed all the action. It's something you don't get to see in a 24-hour race that often. And the pit crews, what a great job they've done. Manuel Reuter getting ready to get back into the Opel and for more battles with the Audi. And for the Audis and their crew, cross your fingers time. Now we're in first place. The team has been working well, and we have a good car. We're out in front. We had a small problem with the other car, actually larger problems, but it's still out there. It's a long time to drive, and I believe we made some rash decisions that weren't quite right. We're happy when we can finish the race and when we don't have any more technical problems. If that happens, we'll finish in the top 3. The spectacular time of the night at the Nürburgring. The number 42 BMW, despite its earlier problems, had gone out on the course, tried to make a show of it, but as you can see here, the show was, well, a collision with 2 other cars. The front was severely damaged. The car would not be able to continue. It was over. What made it even worse is the car had been doing extremely well despite all its problems, and it moved up as high as 5th place. But now their crew would at least get this chance to sleep. Others weren't quite as lucky. After 16 hours of the 24 hours of the Nürburgring, the Audi is out in front, but the Opel is right there with them. The Nissan is a little bit back, but still in competitive range. The Porsches are back in 8th, 9th, and 10th positions. The Honda's also doing well, back in the 10th with BMW in the 11th and 12th positions. The Audi continues to roll. The Audis have surprised everyone with how well they've done. They certainly have had their share of problems, but they are still running. This, the Audi of the Wendlinger, Tomczak, Nissan, and Abt team. They are proving that the touring cars from the German Touring Car Masters, with their modifications, are certainly competitive and certainly have the endurance for 24 hours of racing, not just the sprint races they have in their series. Here you get a look at the challenging Opel. This is the Opel number 5. Manuel Reuter, Timo Scheider, Marcel Thiemann, and Volker STRYCEK. Volker STRYCEK happens to be the boss of Opel Racing. He also is one of the drivers, which makes him extremely popular with the team. Marcel Thiemann was contracted specifically for this one race. He has not been driving for Opel in the other races this season. The Opel certainly had their problems in the touring car events, but here they are running strong, also proving the reliability of these touring cars in a 24-hour race. Coming out of the fog and mist here at the Nürburgring is one of the cars everyone's a little bit surprised at that is running so well. This is the Harold Gross Porsche. They set the car up simply to run and be able to finish the race, and they're doing it. They've moved all the way up into 5th position. This is a great performance for one of the small team cars. There are 600 drivers here from 24 nations, from Portugal to Australia, from New Zealand to Belgium. They come from all over the world to the Nürburgring. There are 230 cars and some special ones at that. For example, the Morgan Plus 8, black and without a roof. It's there just for the fans. You see what makes this special for the Plus 8? It's a one-of-a-kind. There are no other examples of this car running in 24-hour events. The driver, very British, and finds his car sensational.
I'm also a great fan of the Nordschleife. I have driven many times on the circuit, and I'm now really excited about racing the Morgan Plus 8.
Rapper drivers with Rapsearl is the motto of the Fanta 4 singer Smudo and his team. They want to do something for the environment and try something new, which no other driver did. They used biodiesel. They didn't see any difference in performance, and it's a cool alternative. The idea was to say that an exotic car, a funky car, a show car, and in some way to be exotic, we decided on biodiesel. Now, we're in a natural environment on the North Course, and it's really something when we use natural power sources, particularly when you realize it's made out of raps from Rapsearl. And that is good for the environment in many ways. The Ford Falcon is in the Australian V8 Supercar Championship and another exotic in this 24 hours. The team is actually hoping for rain. Not because the 3 English drivers are used to rain on the island, but because they only had 18 slick tires delivered for the race. Certainly doesn't stifle the enthusiasm, though.
We like it because it is big, it is powerful, it looks ordinary on the top, but quite special underneath. And we like it because it is not a Porsche, and it is not a BMW, it is unique. And this makes us smile.
And this exotic mix is what makes this race so interesting. It's not only interesting, but busy for the mechanics as the number 7 Audi comes in for a regular pit stop and goes back out. It had problems overnight with the brakes, and they also were worried about a more serious problem later in the evening with the brakes. And then Matthias Ekström picks up and gets the car running again. In this case, they're truly running for the fans. Yes, they want to finish the race. They will finish down the list, but they're out there for the fans. And when you talk to the mechanics, you talk to the team managers, you talk to the drivers, the number of fans on the Nürburgring make all the difference in the world. And normally they don't get to see this many fans up close. It's a great show for the fans and a great show here by, once again, the app mechanics as they go to work on the next car coming into the pits. We saw fluctuations in the data with the electronics, and we had to check some things to be sure. We also changed a number of parts just to be on the safe side. Everything seems to be in order. The way it looks, everything is normal. Not quite normal, as these two cars found out late in the race, bumping as they come into the corners. The drivers have been out there a long time and can make now some mistakes that they normally wouldn't make. As we're heading to noon, the Opel V8 Astra, number 5 of Reuter, Scheider, Tiemann, and STRYCEK are out in front. Not just out in front, they're 5 laps out in front. The Zaxby's Viper is trying to chase them down, as is the apt Audi, but the Opel is now cruising. They've slowed the pace a little bit to conserve the car. They've got another 3 hours to go. But earlier, the apps had more problems. They had to go to work on the car driven by Marco Werner. He couldn't shift down. They had to change the gearbox. That's 45 minutes of work. Carl Wendlinger would finally be able to take it out after the mechanics were able to do a superior job. This Mini Cooper is driven by Sabine Schmitz. She's the only woman in the world to win a category in the 24-hour race here at the Nürburgring. Normally she's in what's called a race taxi, a BMW. This year, she changed makes. The Nissan continues to roll as Sabina comes by. Another of the cars that very popular with the fans, but also one of those cars that makes it a little difficult for the faster cars. But Sabina, an excellent driver, makes sure she keeps her own race going and also does not involve the faster cars when they have to get by. This BMW M3 is from the Team Reiter Club for motorsports, and it certainly has its share of problems. Mechanics are going to have their hands full trying to get this ready in order to get back for the last laps of the race today. With just a couple of hours to go, the Opel out in front, followed by the Audi, and then the Dodge Viper. Further back, the Porsches and the BMWs. But the day so far belongs to the Opel. A great performance for Volker STRYCEK and his crew. And here they come. You get a good look at them coming along, bouncing along the long straightaway. You can see that they have changed their line over the 24 hours, moving more and more to the right on your screen to avoid the jolts and bounces as they go down that long straightaway. Heading now toward the start-finish line, a series of S-curves gets them back up to the start-finish line. Here you're riding once again with the Audi number 8. And you get a look at them coming up over the jump here. Right behind the Audi is the Viper. That's in the Quiddelbach area of the course. The nice part about this course is, for the fans, is that you can come here and drive the long course when they're not having race weekends. And then you can understand what these drivers are going through. Here's a great view of the course from the Audi. It gives you a good chance to see what these drivers have to cope with. You can see blind corners. They come up over a hill. They can't see if there's somebody there already. Once again, BMW, with its problems, back into the pits. They just can't seem to get away from them. But they do keep trying to get the car out there. The prestige, the advertising, the marketing value of this event in Germany is a major one. And all the teams that are here want to be out there at the finish. They want to be out there for their fans. And that includes the Dodge Viper, despite the penalty overnight that set it back. But the Viper, who won here last year and the year before, this year, due to some penalties because of a wrong-sized tank, according to the sports authorities, is having to run back in the pack a little further than they would like to. In fact, they've been hit with another 45-minute penalty Another 5 laps, which will set them even further back. This because they do not have the 90-liter gas tank. So there will certainly be discussions after this, because the Viper crew has already said, the Saxby team says they will contest this ruling and will take it in for jurisdiction. So that'll happen much later, after this race is all over with. And that penalty certainly will help this car here, the Manthey Porsche. It will now sit in 3rd place as the time runs out here at the Nürburgring. So the Viper's penalty becomes an advantage for the Manthey Porsche. But now you can also seal the problems here at the Nürburgring. Even though we only have a couple hours left, there's still plenty of traffic out there to contend with. At the moment, everybody with Opel's a little nervous. My last stint was quite pleasant. We had to pull back a little. We have a comfortable 5-lap lead, and we don't want to have to attack anymore. But it's difficult for me to drive slowly because there isn't a good rhythm. The car is okay, and from now on, we hope that we can hold it together and finish the next 49 minutes. And there's your biodiesel Beetle. Well, they've used up just about everything they can get. They can hope that they can get it in to the start-finish line, at least be classified as a finisher of the 24 hours. But right now, it's going to be a long haul to get that car in. And the fans, they're still here. And you can tell who's out in front with all those Opel flags waving. They'll start to migrate to the start-finish line here in the grandstand area shortly to watch the finish. At least those that can, that are not way out in the back section of the course. But the fans, 195,000 about, all around this course. Volker STRYCEK. Boy, the pressure must be tremendous on him. The director of the racing team for Opel. He's out in front. They've had so many disappointments in touring car racing the last 2 years, and now they have a major victory before them if everything goes well. But they've seen so many disappointments over the last few years. Nervous is not just the word. It must be a way of life right now in that Opel pit. And there's your leader. He's got to bring it home. As far as the Opel crew is concerned, for the Opel fans. This is the 27 Porsche, the Gross Porsche, doing a tremendous job. They are in 4th place, and look at the damage that they've been able to repair and keep that car running. He's back 8 laps, but he had planned to get the car to finish and drive his race, and they've done it. And in 24 hours, anything can happen, and for them, anything means 4th place, at least now. Who knows? Anything more can happen, but we have to wait and see. And here is the triumphant finish of the 24 hours of Nürburgring. It's traditional. There's your winner, and the rest of the cars have come out to finish the race. They'll line up behind him and around him. And here they come. These are the cars of this year's edition of the 24 Hours of Nürburgring. And your leader, there it is, the Opel, driven by Manuel Reuter. He's won at Le Mans. Now he's won here for Opel in the 24 Hours of the Nürburgring. He's headed to the start-finish line, and you know there are a whole bunch of happy folks awaiting him. And there he is, the winner of the 31st edition of the 24 Hours, Manuel Reuter, in the Opel. And it's a happy Opel crew, and leading the flags, look at that, right in the front, Volker STRYCEK, a very happy man. Here comes the Audi. The Audi will finish in 2nd place. 5 laps down, but they finished. 2 of the German Touring Car Masters cars finishing 1st and 2nd here at the Nürburgring. And the rest of the field makes its way across to the jubilation of the fans and the pit crews. And there's your winner, the Opel, driven by Manuel Reuter here on the last stint, followed by the Audi and then the Porsche, and another Porsche finishing in 4th position. A great day for the factory teams, and certainly a wonderful day for a number of independent teams bringing their cars home in the 24 hours. It's great. It's very emotional, and I'm really happy for the team and for Opel as we have set this mark. It's the first time that a German touring car Masters car has entered here on the North Course. And then we win. And the celebrations continue as a winner approaches his pits. You can't describe it. It's the first time that I've had such an experience as both manager and driver. It's a wonderful to win this race. Opel can celebrate this victory in front of some 200,000 fans. This is truly one of a kind. I can't describe it. You have to experience it yourself. And then the celebration for the drivers and the teams. All of them up there, thankful the 24 hours is over and happy that they're standing up there by themselves. And as the Opel teams celebrate, they can look back on 142 laps of racing. Average speed, 95.545 miles an hour. The best time, 9 minutes, 4 seconds, .446 on the historic Nürburgring. This year's edition, the 24 Hours of Nürburgring, is now history.